The approaching storm. The stars bent and twisted as space itself tore open at the edge of the solar system. First one ship emerged, then 10, then hundreds. The Zephyrian Imperial Armada materialized from hyperspace in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming silver against the black void. 1,000 warships strong, each one capable of destroying entire cities with a single blast. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. His 4 arms crossed behind his back as he studied the holographic display before him. The third planet from the local star glowed blue and green on his screen. Earth. Such a small, insignificant world. Yet it would soon become the 18th. Conquest of the Zephyrian Empire. The Admiral's scaled skin rippled with satisfaction. His red eyes focused on the data streaming across his displays. Radio signals bounced around the planet's atmosphere. Primitive electromagnetic communications. Chemical rockets struggled to lift tiny payloads into low orbit. The humans had barely learned to leave their own world. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we have completed our scan of the system. No defensive platforms detected. No energy weapons, no shield generators. The inhabitants appear to be using crude projectile weapons and nuclear fission for power." Kethvar's thin lips curled into what passed for a smile among his species. 17 systems conquered, and not one has provided even a moment's challenge. I had hoped these humans might be different. The bridge crew worked efficiently around him. Officers with gray skin and tall, thin bodies moved between control stations. Their technology was beyond anything the humans could imagine. Energy shields that could stop asteroid impacts. Plasma cannons that could melt mountains. Faster-than-light travel that made crossing between stars as easy as sailing between islands. "Shall we proceed with standard intimidation protocol?" asked his tactical officer. "Of course. Send the usual message to their governments. Demand immediate surrender. Give them 1 hour to respond before we begin orbital bombardment of their major cities." The message went out on all frequencies that human technology could receive. The translation was automatic, converted into every major human language. The words were simple and direct. Surrender now or face destruction. Join the Zephyrian Empire willingly or be conquered by force. Admiral Kethvar had delivered this same message to 17 different species across the galaxy. Some surrendered immediately upon seeing his fleet. Others tried to fight with their primitive weapons and lasted perhaps a few hours. None had ever managed to damage even a single Zephyrian ship. The fleet moved into position around Earth. The formation was perfect, practiced through countless battles. Ships arranged in a sphere around the planet, covering every possible escape route, energy weapons charged and ready, shields at maximum power. It was overwhelming force applied with surgical precision. "Sir, we are receiving multiple transmissions from the planet's surface," reported the communications officer. "Put them on speaker. Let us hear what these humans have to say." The voices came through in dozens of languages. Some begged for mercy. Others demanded the aliens leave their world alone. A few tried to negotiate. All of them sounded afraid. This was exactly what Admiral Kethvar expected to hear. "Standard responses, all of them," he said to his officers. Fear, confusion, desperate attempts to find a solution that does not exist. They will realize soon enough that resistance is pointless. But something felt different about this conquest. The Admiral could not identify what bothered him. Perhaps it was the complete silence from certain areas of the planet. His sensors showed major population centers, but some regions gave off no electromagnetic signatures at all. Dark zones where millions of humans should be living, yet no radio signals emerged. "Tactical, scan those quiet areas more carefully," he ordered. "Already completed, sir. Deep scans show nothing unusual. Some underground installations, probably mining or industrial facilities, nothing that registers as military." Admiral Kethvar nodded, but the feeling of unease remained. In 17 previous conquests, there had always been some attempt at military response. Even the most primitive civilizations tried to fight back with whatever weapons they possessed. Yet Earth's governments had made no mention of resistance. No threats of retaliation, no boasts about secret weapons. The hour deadline approached. Admiral Kethvar expected the humans to surrender at the last moment. Most civilizations did. The sight of 1,000 warships in their sky was usually enough to break even the strongest will to fight. Time remaining, 15 minutes, sir. Have. All ships report readiness status. One by one, his ship commanders reported in. All weapon systems operational, all shields at maximum strength, all crews ready for battle, though no one expected any real fighting. This would be target practice. At best. Sir, incoming transmission from the planet's surface. Put it through. A single voice came through the speakers. Male, speaking in the human language called English. The tone was calm, almost relaxed. This is General Harrison of Earth Defense Command. Your ultimatum has been received and considered. Admiral Kethvar leaned forward. Finally, a military response. And what is your decision, General Harrison? We decline your offer to surrender. The Admiral blinked in surprise. You understand the consequences? My fleet will destroy your cities one by one. Your people will die in the millions. We understand your threats, the human general replied. We also understand that you have never faced an opponent like us before. Admiral Kethvar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. You have chemical rockets and metal bullets. We have plasma cannons and energy shields. What could you possibly do against the might of the Zephyrian Empire? You will find out very soon. The transmission ended. Admiral Kethvar stared at the display for a moment, then shook his head. Brave words from a species about to be conquered. He had heard similar defiance before. It never lasted long once the shooting started. All ships, prepare for orbital bombardment. Target their major population centers. We will show them what happens to those who refuse the generosity of the Empire. The countdown began. 10 minutes, 9 minutes, 8 minutes. Far below, on the surface of Earth, billions of humans went about their daily lives. Most had no idea what was happening above their heads. The governments had decided not to cause panic among the civilian population. News reports mentioned strange objects in the sky, but nothing about an alien invasion or demands for surrender. In hidden bunkers deep underground, however, a different scene played out. Military officers worked at computer terminals that glowed with displays far more advanced than anything Admiral Kethvar had seen. These were not the primitive humans his intelligence reports had described. These were the descendants of a species that had been preparing for this day for longer than the Zephyrian Empire had existed. 5 minutes remaining. Admiral Kethvar watched the blue planet turn slowly below his fleet. Such a beautiful world. It would make a fine addition to the Empire. Once its inhabitants learned to obey, the humans would serve as workers in the mines and factories, just like all the other conquered species. 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. Sir, all ships report ready for bombardment. Admiral Kethvar raised one of his 4 arms. Begin the attack. But even as he gave the order, deep beneath Earth's surface and hidden in the dark regions his sensors could not penetrate, ancient systems that had waited patiently for centuries began to wake up. The real defenders of Earth were about to reveal themselves. The Zephyrian Empire was about to learn that some worlds were not as helpless as they appeared. First Contact Protocol. The moment Admiral Kethvar gave the order to attack, emergency signals flashed across hidden networks beneath Earth's surface. In bunkers buried miles underground, men and women in military uniforms moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for this day their entire lives, just as their parents and grandparents had before them. General Sarah Harrison sat in the deepest command center ever built by human hands. The room hummed with energy from technology that would have amazed the alien fleet above. Holographic displays showed the position of every Zephyrian ship in perfect detail, not just their locations but their shield frequencies, weapon types, and even the layout of their internal systems. Aegis is online and ready, reported her chief technology officer, Dr. Marcus Chen. He was a thin man with gray hair and eyes that seemed to glow with reflected light from his neural interface. All quantum defense platforms have been activated. Luna Base confirms mass drivers are charged and targeting solutions locked. General Harrison nodded. She was a woman in her 50s who had spent 30 years preparing for this moment. Her calm exterior hid the excitement she felt. Finally, after decades of hiding, Earth would show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. What about the civilian population? She asked. All major cities have emergency shelters activated, though most people think it's just a drill. News media is still reporting the alien ships as unidentified objects pending further investigation. This was the hardest part of the plan. Millions of humans had no idea that their planet was about to become a battlefield, but it was necessary. If the galaxy believed Earth was a primitive world, then primitive Earth must appear to be. On the surface, life continued as normal. People went to work, children attended school, traffic moved through busy streets. The alien ships were visible in the sky, but government officials assured everyone that they were probably just unusual weather phenomena or experimental aircraft. Deep underground, however, Earth's real military prepared for war. Status report from all stations, General Harrison commanded. Orbital Defense Platform 7 reports all systems green, cloaking fields holding steady. Luna base mass drivers show full charge, projectiles loaded and ready. Pacific Deep Station confirms quantum torpedo tubes are armed. Antarctic installation reports energy weapons at maximum power. Each report came from facilities that officially did not exist. Bases built in secret over the course of a century, hidden from both human civilians and alien observation. Technology that had been developed in the shadows, reverse-engineered from visitors who had made the mistake of coming to Earth before the Zephyrians arrived. General Harrison remembered the first time she had learned the truth about Earth's defenses. As a young lieutenant, she had been recruited into the Deep Defense program. The briefing had changed her life forever. Earth was not the primitive world it appeared to be. Humanity had been contacted by alien species decades ago. Some had been friendly. Others had been hostile. All of them had underestimated what humans could accomplish when properly motivated. Ma'am, the Zephyrian fleet is beginning their attack run. Lead ships are descending toward the atmosphere. Above them, Admiral Kethvar watched his forward ships move into bombardment position. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The humans had shown no military response at all. No fighters launched, no missiles fired, no energy weapons charging. It would be a massacre, but that was what happened to species who refused to join the Empire peacefully. Target the largest population. Centers first, he ordered. Maximum destruction, minimum time. I want this over quickly, so we can begin the occupation phase. The first wave of Zephyrian ships entered Earth's upper atmosphere. Their plasma cannons began to glow as power built up for the initial bombardment. Energy shields flickered around, each vessel protecting them from anything the primitive humans might throw at them. General Harrison watched the enemy ships descend on her displays. Each alien vessel was tracked by multiple systems, their every move predicted and calculated. The moment was almost here. Earth was about to reveal its true nature to the galaxy. All stations, stand by for activation of Protocol Zero. Protocol Zero was the plan they had spent 60 years perfecting. The complete destruction of any hostile force that threatened Earth, carried out so quickly and efficiently that no enemy ship would have time to send a warning to their home fleet. Aegis reports ready for full system integration. Aegis was Earth's artificial intelligence network, quantum-enhanced and distributed across hundreds of hidden facilities. It could process information faster than any biological mind and react to threats in microseconds. It had been learning and growing for decades, fed with data from every alien encounter, every piece of captured technology, every lesson learned from previous contacts. Orbital platforms report cloaking fields will drop in 30 seconds. The platforms had been built in secret and hidden in Earth's orbital space for years. To alien sensors, they appeared to be nothing more than space debris or natural asteroids. In reality, they were weapons of incredible power, armed with technology that surpassed anything in the Zephyrian arsenal. Luna Base confirms mass driver targeting is locked on all primary targets. The mass drivers were electromagnetic launch systems that could accelerate projectiles to significant fractions of light speed. They had been built inside natural craters on the moon's far side, completely invisible to any observation from Earth orbit. Each projectile contained enough kinetic energy to destroy a warship with a single hit. Admiral Kethvar had no idea what was waiting for him. His intelligence reports had been carefully crafted deceptions, showing him exactly what Earth's defenders wanted him to see. Radio signals from primitive technology, chemical rockets struggling to reach orbit, nuclear weapons that were impressive by human standards but laughably weak compared to Zephyrian plasma cannons. None of it was real. The radio. Signals came from automated transmitters designed to mimic primitive communication. The rocket launches were deliberately inefficient designs, hiding the fact that humans had been traveling between stars for decades. The nuclear weapons were obsolete relics, museum pieces compared to the quantum-enhanced arsenal now preparing to engage the Zephyrian fleet. Ma'am, enemy ships have crossed the outer marker. They are now within range of all defense systems. General Harrison took a deep breath. This was it. The moment when Earth would stop pretending to be helpless and show the galaxy what humanity had become. All stations, you are authorized to engage. Execute Protocol 0. The order went out instantly, carried by quantum communication networks that operated faster than light itself. Every hidden base, every secret facility, every concealed weapons system received the same message at the same moment. Above them, Admiral Kethvar watched his forward ships prepare to fire their first salvo. In a few seconds, human cities would begin to burn. Another world would learn to fear the might of the Zephyrian Empire. He had no idea that in those same few seconds, his entire fleet would cease to exist. The minute of truth was about to begin. The minute of truth at exactly 14:27. GMT, the first Zephyrian ships crossed Earth's outer defensive perimeter. Admiral Kethvar watched from his flagship as his forward vessels prepared to demonstrate the power of the Empire. Their plasma cannons glowed with deadly energy, targeting the largest human cities for maximum psychological impact. "Begin bombardment," he commanded. The words had barely left his mouth when space itself seemed to explode around his fleet. Hidden mass drivers on the far side of Luna fired their first salvo. Tungsten projectiles the size of telephone poles accelerated to 30% of light speed in less than a second. They crossed the distance between Moon and Earth orbit in heartbeats, striking Zephyrian shields with the force of nuclear weapons. Admiral Kethvar staggered as his flagship shook from impacts that should have been impossible. "Report! What was that?" "Unknown projectiles, sir, moving at relativistic speeds. Our shields are holding, but power levels are dropping rapidly." Before anyone could respond, space around the fleet shimmered as dozens of massive objects materialized from nowhere. Orbital defense platforms the size of city blocks dropped their cloaking fields and revealed themselves in all their terrible glory. Energy weapons that had been charging in secret for hours unleashed concentrated beams of destruction. The lead Zephyrian ships simply vanished. Their shields, designed to stop anything in the known galaxy, lasted less than a second against directed energy weapons powered by quantum reactors. Hulls that could withstand asteroid impacts were sliced apart like paper. "Impossible!" Admiral Kethvar shouted. "These are primitives! They have no energy weapons!" But the evidence blazed before his eyes as ship after ship in his fleet died, in balls of superheated plasma. The humans did have energy weapons, and they were more advanced than anything the Zephyrian Empire had ever encountered. "Sir, our communications are being jammed. We cannot contact the outer fleet." "Sir, our navigation systems are failing. Something is interfering with our computers." "Sir, our weapons are not responding to commands." Admiral Kethvar realized with growing horror that this was not random system failure. Someone was attacking his ships electronically, taking control of their technology from the inside. The primitive humans had somehow penetrated the most secure computer networks in the galaxy. Deep beneath Earth's surface, Aegis was demonstrating why it had spent decades learning everything about alien technology. The artificial intelligence had infiltrated every Zephyrian ship the moment they entered the solar system. It moved through their networks like a digital ghost, mapping their systems, learning their weaknesses, preparing for this moment. Now it struck with devastating efficiency. Navigation computers received false position data, sending ships crashing into each other. Weapons systems turned on their own vessels, firing plasma cannons at nearby allies. Life support systems failed, forcing crews to abandon their posts. Communication networks became highways for viral programs that spread chaos throughout the fleet. "Aegis has achieved total network penetration," Dr. Chen reported from the underground command center. "Enemy ships are now under our control." General Harrison watched the tactical display as red dots representing Zephyrian ships began winking out of existence. The enemy fleet was dying so quickly that her displays could barely keep up with the destruction. Time elapsed since engagement. "Began?" she asked. 22 seconds, ma'am. 22 seconds." In less than half a minute, the most powerful military force in the known galaxy was being systematically destroyed by a species they had dismissed as primitive savages. Admiral Kethvar tried desperately to regain control of his fleet. Emergency protocols. Cut all computer connections. Switch to manual control. But it was too late. Aegis had already accomplished its primary mission. The Zephyrian ships were isolated, confused, and vulnerable. They flew through space like blind animals, no longer capable of coordinated action. The Lunamass drivers fired again. This time their targets were the larger command ships, including Admiral Kethvar's flagship. Projectiles moving at impossible speeds struck with pinpoint accuracy. The Eternal Dominion shuddered as its shields collapsed, and its hull began to crack. "Abandon ship!" someone screamed. "All hands abandon ship!" Admiral Kethvar stumbled toward the escape pods as his bridge exploded around him. Emergency lights flashed red as atmosphere vented into space. The pride of the Zephyrian fleet was dying, and he could not understand how it was happening. Around him, the greatest armada in galactic history was coming apart. Ships that had conquered 17 star systems were being destroyed by weapons they could not see, controlled by an intelligence they could not comprehend, fired from positions they had never detected. The orbital defense platforms continued their deadly work. Energy beams swept through space like giant swords, cutting Zephyrian vessels in half. Each platform was a masterpiece of human engineering, powered by reactors that drew energy directly from quantum vacuum fluctuations. Their weapons could adjust frequency and intensity in real time, adapting to any shield technology the enemy might deploy. But the Zephyrian shields were not adapting. They had been designed to stop known weapons using understood principles of physics. The human weapons operated on theories that the Empire's scientists had never discovered. Energy that should not exist according to their models was tearing their ships apart. 43 seconds elapsed, Dr. Chen reported. On the tactical display, less than 50 Zephyrian ships remained out of the original 1,000. Most of those were heavily damaged and drifting helplessly. The few that still had power were trying desperately to escape, but their faster-than-light drives had been sabotaged by Aegis. They were trapped in Earth's solar system with no way to flee. Admiral Kethvar's escape pod tumbled through space as his flagship exploded behind him. Through the small window, he could see the remains of his armada scattered across the void like burning debris. Ships that had seemed invincible an hour ago were now twisted metal and expanding gas clouds. "How?" he whispered to himself. "How is this possible?" The answer came in the form of more projectiles from Luna. The mass drivers had switched to smaller targets now, picking off escape pods and damaged ships with methodical precision. Each shot was perfectly aimed, each impact exactly calculated. Nothing was left to chance. General Harrison watched the final phase of the battle from her underground command center. The Zephyrian fleet was finished. In 58 seconds, Earth's hidden defenses had accomplished what should have been impossible. They had destroyed the largest invasion force in recorded galactic history. "Ma'am, we have multiple escape pods and damaged vessels requesting surrender. Accept their surrender and bring them in for processing. Make sure they receive medical attention. We want survivors to tell this story." Admiral Kethvar's pod was among those captured by human recovery vessels. As he was brought aboard a ship that looked nothing like the primitive craft his intelligence reports had described, he began to understand the magnitude of his mistake. The humans had not been helpless primitives. They had been the greatest military power in the galaxy, hiding behind a carefully constructed lie. The minute of truth was over. The Zephyrian Empire's age of conquest had ended in less than 60 seconds, destroyed by a species that had pretended to be defenseless while building the most sophisticated military force the galaxy had ever seen. In the aftermath, as rescue, ships moved through the debris field that had once been a proud armada. One question echoed through the surviving Zephyrian minds. What else had they been wrong about? What other primitive worlds were hiding capabilities beyond imagination? Shatir. Galaxy was about to change forever. Aftermath and revelation. Admiral Kethvar woke up in a room that defied everything he thought he knew about human technology. The walls were smooth metal that seemed to glow with their own inner light. The air was perfectly clean and temperature-controlled, to a degree that impressed even Zephyrian environmental systems. Medical devices surrounding his bed used energy signatures he could not identify. a human in a white coat approached his bedside. The man looked ordinary enough, but his eyes held an intelligence that made the Admiral uncomfortable. There was something different about this human, something that suggested capabilities beyond normal biological limits. "You are awake." "Good," the human said in perfect Zephyrian. His accent was flawless, as if he had been speaking the language his entire life. "I am Dr. Williams. You have been unconscious for 6 hours while we repaired the damage from your escape pod crash." Admiral Kethvar tried to sit up, but found his forearms responding sluggishly. "What have you done to me?" "Saved your life. Your escape pod took significant damage when your flagship exploded. Internal bleeding, broken bones, severe radiation. Exposure. Our medical technology was able to repair all of it." The Admiral stared at the human in disbelief. Zephyrian medicine was considered the most advanced in the galaxy, yet these supposedly primitive beings had healed injuries that would have taken his own doctors weeks to treat. "Where am I?" "Medical Facility 7, located in what your maps would call the North Atlantic Ocean, about 2 miles beneath the surface." "Impossible. Humans cannot build underwater cities." Dr. Williams smiled, and there was something unsettling about the expression. "Admiral, you are going to discover that many things you believed impossible are actually quite routine for us. Would you like to see?" The doctor touched a control panel, and the wall beside Kethavar's bed became transparent. Beyond was not the ocean floor he expected, but a vast underwater city stretching as far as he could see. Buildings that looked like works of art rose from the sea bottom, connected by tubes of transparent material. Schools of fish swam between structures that glowed with bioluminescent light. Humans in advanced diving suits moved between the buildings, with the ease of natural swimmers. "This is just one of our cities," Dr. Williams explained. "We have others beneath every ocean, inside mountains, in polar ice caps, even in the cores of asteroids throughout the solar system. The surface world you observed is our public face. This is where we actually live." Admiral Kethvar's mind reeled. "How long have you been hiding this?" "Hiding is not quite the right word. We have been maintaining a necessary fiction. Your empire, like many others, judges worlds by their apparent level of technology. We learned long ago that it was safer to appear primitive than to reveal our true capabilities." The door opened and another human entered. This one wore a military uniform that somehow managed to look both simple and incredibly advanced at the same time. She moved with the confidence of someone accustomed to command, and her eyes held the same enhanced intelligence the Admiral had noticed in the doctor. "Admiral Kethvar," she said, speaking his name with perfect pronunciation. "I am General Harrison. We have been monitoring your empire's expansion for some time." "Monitoring how?" "We have agents throughout the galaxy. Some are humans who learn to disguise themselves as other species. Others are members of races you conquered who now work for us. Your empire has been thoroughly infiltrated for decades." The Admiral felt a chill that had nothing to do with the room temperature. "That is impossible. Our security is absolute." "General." Harrison activated a holographic display that showed detailed schematics of Zephyrian ships, military bases, and government facilities. Information that should have been completely classified was laid out in perfect detail. "Your Admiral Nethkol believes he is planning an attack on the Centauri colonies next month. Your High Command thinks they are developing new plasma rifle designs in secret. Your Emperor assumes his private communications are secure." She paused. "They are all wrong." Admiral Kethvar stared at intelligence data that could only have come from the highest levels of his own government. "You have been watching us for decades. We have been watching everyone for decades. The galaxy is full of aggressive species, like yours, Admiral. Empires that grow through conquest and believe might makes right. We learned early that the best way to protect ourselves was to know everything about potential threats before they knew anything about us." Dr. Williams pulled up another display showing star maps with detailed information about hundreds of species across the galaxy. "The Corvin hegemony believes they are preparing for war with the Altarian Federation. The Vorthon Empire thinks their new battleships are undetectable. The Zentran Republic assumes their quantum communications cannot be intercepted." "All of them are wrong," General Harrison continued. "We monitor every aggressive civilization in the galaxy. We know their military capabilities, their expansion plans, their weaknesses. Most importantly, we know when they become a threat to worlds that cannot defend themselves. The full scope of human capabilities was beginning to dawn on Admiral Kethvar. You are not just defending Earth, you are defending everyone. We are maintaining galactic stability. When the Corvan hegemony invaded the peaceful Deltron system 5 years ago, they experienced mysterious technical failures that forced them to retreat. When the Vorthan Empire tried to subjugate the research colonies in the Rigel sector, their fleet encountered natural phenomena that made conquest impossible. Admiral Kethvar remembered those incidents. Both had been major embarrassments for aggressive empires, but they had been attributed to bad luck and poor planning. That was you. That was us. We prefer subtle intervention when possible. Direct, confrontation only when necessary. Your fleet forced us to be direct. The Admiral looked around the medical facility with new understanding. The technology here was not just advanced, it was beyond anything he had imagined possible. Materials that should not exist, energy sources that defied known physics, medical capabilities that bordered on miraculous. How long have you possessed this technology? Some of it we developed ourselves over centuries of hidden research. Some of it we learned from other species, ones you would never suspect of having such capabilities. The galaxy is full of ancient civilizations that have chosen to remain hidden rather than engage in the endless wars that younger species seem to prefer. General Harrison activated another display showing star maps with previously unknown markings. Solar systems that had appeared empty to Zephyrian surveys were revealed to contain thriving civilizations. Entire sectors that had been written off as barren were shown to be populated by species with technology that made both human and Zephyrian capabilities look primitive. The galaxy you thought you knew, Admiral, contains less than 20% of its actual intelligent life. The rest have learned to hide from aggressive species like yours. But they watch, they communicate, and when necessary, they act. The implications crashed over Admiral Kethvar like a tidal wave. His empire had been stumbling through the galaxy like a blind giant, conquering only the worlds that allowed themselves to be found. Meanwhile, an entire hidden civilization of vastly superior species had been watching, cataloging, and quietly preventing the worst excesses of conquest. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. "Because you are going to deliver a message to your high command. The age of expansion through conquest is over. Any further aggressive actions by your empire will be met with responses far more severe than what your fleet experienced here." Dr. Williams brought up medical scans showing the Admiral's current condition. "We have repaired your injuries completely. In fact, our medical nanites have improved your biological systems significantly. You are now healthier than you have ever been in your life. Consider it a gift." Admiral Kethvar realized that these humans, these seemingly primitive creatures his empire had dismissed, were offering him mercy he had never shown to others. "What happens to my surviving crew?" "They will be returned to Zephyrian space with the same message. Your empire can choose to join the community of peaceful civilizations, or it can face the combined response of species whose existence you never suspected." As the full weight of his situation became clear, Admiral Kethvar understood that he was not just a prisoner of war. He was a witness to the revelation that would reshape the entire galaxy's understanding of itself. The Zephyrian Empire's days of conquest were over. The question now was whether they would adapt to a galaxy far more complex and dangerous than they had ever imagined. The new galactic order, 3 months after the destruction of the Zephyrian Armada, Admiral Kethvar stood before the High Council of his empire. The Great Chamber had not changed since his last visit, but everything else had. The 12 members of the council sat in their ornate chairs, their expressions ranging from disbelief to outrage to barely controlled fear. Emperor Vashitar himself presided over the emergency session. His ancient form was draped in ceremonial robes that spoke of 1,000 years of conquest and expansion. But today those symbols of imperial might seemed hollow and meaningless. "Repeat your report, Admiral," the Emperor commanded, his voice echoing through the chamber. Admiral Kethvar had delivered this same report dozens of times to different groups of officials, military commanders, and intelligence analysts. Each time, the reaction was the same: complete refusal to accept what had happened. The human world designated as Earth possesses military capabilities that exceed our own by several orders of magnitude. They destroyed our entire fleet in less than 60 seconds using weapons and tactics we had never encountered. Their technology appears to be based on scientific principles unknown to our researchers. Council member Theknal slammed his fist on his desk. Impossible! Our intelligence clearly showed that these humans are primitives. Chemical rockets, metal projectiles, nuclear fission. All of it was deception, Admiral Kethvar replied. They wanted us to see primitive technology. They broadcast false signals, staged fake rocket launches, and hid their real capabilities beneath layers of carefully constructed lies. You expect us to believe that a species we had never heard of possesses weapons superior to the combined might of 17 conquered worlds? Demanded Council Member Rhett Hara. Admiral Kethvar activated the holographic projector that had been provided by his human captors. The display showed detailed recordings of the battle, captured from every angle by sensors the Zephyrians had never detected. The council members watched in stunned silence as their invincible armada was systematically destroyed. This is what they allowed us to record, the Admiral explained. They also provided detailed technical analyses of their weapons systems, though much of the science is beyond our current understanding. The recordings showed mass driver projectiles moving at relativistic speeds, energy weapons that could slice through Zephyrian shields like they were made of paper, and most disturbing of all, the complete electronic takeover of their ships by an artificial intelligence of impossible sophistication. Emperor Vashatar studied the displays with growing unease. How many humans died in this battle? None, Your Majesty. Their defensive systems were automated. No human soldiers were directly involved in the fighting. The Emperor's eyes widened. They destroyed 1,000 ships without risking a single life of their own? The entire engagement was conducted by machines and artificial intelligences. The humans themselves remained safely underground and in hidden facilities throughout the solar system. Council member Kefvan spoke up. What do they want from us? Admiral Kethvar had been dreading this question. They demand that the Zephyrian Empire cease all expansion activities and withdraw from recently conquered territories. Any further acts of aggression will be met with direct intervention. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Council members shouted about the impossibility of surrender, the dishonor of retreat, and the need to gather a larger fleet for revenge. But Emperor Vashatar raised his hand for silence, and gradually the room quieted. Show them the rest, he commanded. Admiral Kethvar activated another section of the recording. This one showed not the battle itself, but what had happened afterward. Human ships appeared from nowhere, collecting escape pods and survivors with gentle efficiency. Medical facilities that rivaled anything in the Empire provided treatment for wounded Zephyrian soldiers. Most shocking of all, the humans had repaired and returned damaged Zephyrian vessels, complete with upgraded technology. They healed our wounded, Admiral Kethvar continued. They fed our hungry. They treated prisoners of war with more respect than we have ever shown to conquered populations. And when they released us, they gave us gifts. He gestured to his own body. Their medical nanites have extended my life expectancy by 2 centuries and enhanced my physical capabilities beyond what I thought possible. Every survivor received similar treatment. Council member Nex Ara leaned forward. Why would they do such things? Because they are not like us. They do not conquer for resources or glory. They protect because they believe it is right. They showed mercy because they see value in all intelligent life, even those who came to destroy them. The recordings continued, showing Admiral Kethvar's tour of human facilities, underwater cities that housed millions, orbital habitats disguised as asteroids, manufacturing centers that could produce technology beyond Zephyrian understanding, all of it hidden, all of it operating in secret while the surface world maintained its facade of primitive development. The humans are not alone, Admiral Kethvar said, coming to the most difficult part of his report. They showed me communications with dozens of other species across the galaxy. Civilizations we believed extinct or primitive are actually thriving, members of a hidden alliance. Emperor Vashatar's expression grew grave. How many? Hundreds of species, Your Majesty. Perhaps thousands. They call themselves the Silent Compact. They monitor aggressive civilizations like ours and intervene when necessary to protect innocent worlds. The Emperor stood and walked to the great window that looked out over the capital city of the Zephyrian homeworld. Millions of citizens went about their daily lives, unaware that their empire's age of expansion had come to an abrupt end. "What proof do we have that this is real?" Emperor Vashatar asked. "How do we know these humans have not simply created elaborate illusions to deceive us?" Admiral Kethvar activated the final recording. This one showed a view of space that no Zephyrian had ever seen before. Stars that had appeared empty to their surveys were revealed to be surrounded by vast construction projects, space habitats the size of moons, energy collectors that harvested power from stellar radiation, fleets of ships that made the destroyed Zephyrian Armada look like toys. "They allowed me to see the galaxy as it really is," Admiral Kethvar said quietly. "We have been children playing with dangerous toys, while ancient civilizations watch, us with the patience of parents waiting for us to mature." The recording showed more than just human capabilities. It revealed the existence of species that had achieved technological transcendence, beings who could manipulate matter and energy. At the quantum level, civilizations that had learned to live in harmony with the fundamental forces of the universe. "The Corvin hegemony believes they control 12 star systems," Admiral Kethvar continued. "In reality, they control 12 carefully designated reservation areas. The Vorthon Empire thinks they have discovered new mineral-rich worlds. Those worlds have been artificially seeded with resources to keep them occupied and prevent them from searching for real prizes." Council member Dexalar spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "How long have we been managed like this?" "According to human records, since our species first achieved spaceflight. Every aggressive civilization in the galaxy is monitored and controlled to some degree. We are allowed to expand only into areas that will not threaten truly important worlds or innocent populations." The weight of revelation settled over the chamber like a physical force. The mighty Zephyrian Empire, proud conqueror of 17 star systems, had been nothing more than a carefully managed problem. Their great victories had been permitted. Their expansion had been guided. Their sense of superiority had been an illusion maintained by beings whose true power they could never have imagined. Emperor Vashatar returned to his throne. "What are our options?" "The humans were very clear about that, Your Majesty. We can join the community of peaceful civilizations and be welcomed as equals. We can continue our aggressive expansion and face systematic destruction. Or we can choose a middle path. Limited autonomy within designated boundaries, with the understanding that we are being watched. And if we choose war?" Admiral Kethvar's expression grew grim. "Then we will face not just the humans, but the combined might of species whose capabilities make human technology look primitive. The recordings show weapons that can destroy stars, defensive systems that exist in parallel dimensions, artificial intelligences that span multiple galaxies." The chamber fell silent as the council absorbed the implications. Everything they had believed about their place in the universe had been wrong. They were not apex predators in a galaxy of sheep. They were dangerous children being managed by adults whose patience had finally reached its limits. Emperor Vashatar spoke slowly. "Prepare a message to all Zephyrian fleets. Order the withdrawal from our 3 most recent conquests. Establish defensive positions around our core worlds, but make no aggressive moves." "Your Majesty?" Council member Theknal asked in confusion. "We are going to choose survival," the Emperor replied. "Alert our intelligence services. I want to know everything we can learn about this silent compact. If we are to live in a galaxy controlled by hidden powers, then we must understand how that galaxy really works.